Refugees, immigration and foreign aid. These words can have incendiary results when discussed, but why? We all agree we want to be part of compassionate solutions for our international neighbours. It's not good enough to close our borders completely and keep all our wealth to ourselves. We all, I hope, want to be better than that. We want to help others and make the world a better place, just like we hope that someone would do for us if our positions were reversed. If we can just acknowledge that common starting point, the discussion on where those values might take us as a nation can go a whole lot better and with a whole lot less unhelpful rhetoric. The differences I see are in the approaches. People on the left are generally very subjective, very emotional and want to pour money into bad situations immediately, and lots of it. They exhibit more than a sense of generosity, but actual debt and guilt for having been born in a country and culture that affords better opportunities than those born in undeveloped countries and cultures. And if lots of money doesn't dramatically improve the situations that they're genuinely trying to improve, it seems the only solution to be considered is even more money. People on the right, however, tend to be more objective, rational and take a longer-term view of causes for problems and consequences for their actions. They reject any sense of debt or guilt, but this does not exclude the presence of compassion or a desire to help as much as possible. Any accusation otherwise is hasty and unhelpful to finding the best way to help. An example is the live cattle export debacle. Any reasonable person felt like we needed to do better than we were, but the leftists demanded an immediate cease to trade without regard to the consequences. They were motivated by compassion, but myopic to the reality that the Indonesians would simply source their live cattle from distant Brazil instead of nearby Australia. The consequence of the leftist solution was really that just as many cattle suffered, but for a much further distance and a much longer time. Conservatives on the right, however, preferred to maintain a working relationship with Indonesia, which resulted in opportunities to influence and improve handling procedures after the cattle left our direct control. This is all not to mention the devastating personal and economic effects on an entire industry back here in Australia, resulting from the poorly thought through knee-jerk reaction from the left. Another example is Cecil the lion, shot by a rich white man. Howls of outrage demanded the lion's life was more valuable than the human's, and facts were irrelevant to people calling for his head to be stuffed and mounted literally. Yet the reality is that such properly regulated big game hunters are the best thing to happen to African conservation. Their money funds unemployed locals to protect endangered species from poachers. Their kills aren't wasted and can feed an entire poverty-stricken village for weeks. Their targets are carefully selected to be the old and nearly dead anyway animals, or animals that are attacking villages or destroying their crops. Both people and endangered species would certainly be worse off if the short-sighted, bleeding heart leftists got their way. We both care, but we often disagree on the best way to help. Let's listen to the other side. Let's try to process and compare the solutions being considered. We don't have to agree, but let's at least weigh the pros and cons of everything being discussed before jumping to hasty conclusions. Our best decisions as humans are never made emotionally. When someone's just cut you off in traffic is not the best time to plan your policy on using the horn or sign language. When you've just watched your child be killed by a drunk driver is not the best time to decide how justice would be best served. When you've just lost your job and family home is not the best time to decide how generous government welfare should be. Subjective emotions do not make good policy. Empathy does not make good policy. Sympathy, on the other hand, care and concern whilst remaining objective, does contribute valuable information to what good policy looks like. Priorities must be balanced and considered objectively and rationally when making policy decisions. The people we elect also must balance priorities. They must not sacrifice meeting our nation's needs, such as paying our debts, securing our home, and promoting a positive culture. This is Church and State with Dave Pellowe.